to Meetings After Hours. It feels so surreal to finally dive into recording these episodes and be sharing them with you all now. We figured a bit of a background was in order for you to learn who we are and how we got there and why we're here and all the good stuff. So let's start with Allison.
So let's rewind. Before the growth guide, before this podcast, before the post it notes and voice memos filled with business ideas, Leanne and I were corporate girlies. This podcast is the story of how we both said no thanks to the path that we were told we should take and said yes to something that felt way more aligned. Most of my corporate background actually comes from working in operations management in the real estate industry. I truly still love and consult on occasion in the real estate world, but I had a true aha moment just before my daughter was born. The company I was working for at the time laid me off the day before I was induced. This tight knit family style team let me go, and I knew nothing was ever secure, and I had to control my own future for my new family. Looking back, it was a total God thing. I truly believe that that extra time that I got with my daughter in those brand new newborn bubble moms, new mom stage was absolutely 100% necessary for me. We tried for almost 6.5 years to conceive, and so it was the best time of my life. But I also knew when I came out of that, 3 months later and really started thinking, what do I want for my life? I never wanted a boss again. And I just knew that this was going to light a fire in me to make it work, regardless of how hard it might be. Now, listen, that's not to say that it isn't hard. I had to learn quickly how to navigate fluctuating income, how to time block my days, and I did all of this as a newer mom as well. Luckily, your girl is seriously type A, Enneagram 1 at my core, but
Very.
it was a true learning curve to have to admit failure when an idea didn't pan out or pull back when life became more of a priority. After years of freelancing between being a virtual assistant, an online business manager, and consulting, when my daughter started school full time a couple of years ago, I chose to take a leap of faith and open the growth guide. I niched down, which we'll talk more about in future episodes, but I really put the pedal to the metal. Like all new ventures, I had my obstacles that I had to overcome. And when I realized I didn't want a boss, it meant I still needed a team. I met Leanne shortly after launching the growth guide, and she absolutely blew me away. And how similar we were, and how we approach what we do with our business, and how we operate. We're both so passionate about working with women, and it was honestly a no-brainer to partner up and become unstoppable. Leanne is truly the creative brain to my systems and structure, making us, in my own humble opinion, top notch. With my background in operations, I have a vast amount of experience navigating the back end of an online business. So if we're talking CRMs, automation, pipelines, I truly geek out over all of the organized things. Okay. I want to hear more about Leanne, I'm sure as much as all of you do, so take it away.
My path was never linear. If you had asked me when I was in high school, going into college, what I wanted to be, the two options literally on the table that I went to my parents with was writer or cook. I have always loved food, always loved cooking. Around that time, my dad had just bought a restaurant, so I was in the industry, and I just thought like that creative freedom that you had in the kitchen, along with writing, was my path. Unfortunately, I am a very obedient daughter, and I went to my parents and I was like, hey guys, I want to go to school for writing, or I want to go to the Culinary Institute of America. And they were like, hard no, we're not paying for college, and you're not going to college if that's what you're going to do. Um, so I pivoted. I ended up going to college in Albany, and from there, I actually majored in, well, I have a dual degree, which is sounds ambitious, but it truly wasn't. They just shifted the program, and if I took one more class, it worked. And I have a dual degree in marketing and management. And what I loved about marketing was this idea of we worked with a lot of local nonprofits, and I loved being able to go into a nonprofit, see what their problems were, and then create a strategy. And even though strategy doesn't sound like writer or chef, the truth is when you have a strong foundation, you can really do anything. But from there, I didn't really want to grow up, and I still want to be a writer. So towards the end of my senior year, this is funny, don't judge me. They're like number one still in tour revenue, so do not judge me for this. Um, I started a blog called DMB Fan Page, and it was dedicated entirely to the Dave Matthews Band.
I love it.
Um, it's so ridiculous, but let me tell you something. But it was my almost famous summer. I was about to graduate college, and I started this DMB fan page with my, guy I was going to marry from college. And for that entire summer, it was my almost famous summer. I ended up becoming so popular that some of the band managers would reach out to us. There was a guy in the band who was releasing a movie, and he literally flew us all over to record his movie and go to the shows. And I had this incredible opportunity to not only write and recap, but to be on their buses, to be behind the scenes, and to photograph concerts. I literally had like a D5200, which was like the basic Nikon camera, and I was in the photo pit with these incredible photographers. And I just realized that like life could be so big if you continued to chase these wild, ambitious dreams. And then my ex cheated on me.
Oh.
And because I'm a self sabotaging queen, which I think was a good thing in this moment, I decided that instead of me like yelling at him for cheating on me and lying about it, because what else do they do? I, he was out, and I deleted the entire blog, the entire Twitter, everything we had built, and I moved out with my dog and moved right back down to Long Island. And this was probably my favorite time. And again, this I am the girl who like never wanted to follow a path. So my parents still had the restaurant. Um, there was no nepotism, so I had to start as like a bus girl and learn how to work a restaurant again. And from there, I would work at night, and then during the day, I was writing for Thought Catalog and Huffington Post, and I was making really good money, and I was spending my days doing what I wanted to do, and I loved it until that pressure of falling in line started to get to me. I was 29 and people were thinking I was too old to be living this like freestyle life. At that point, I had built up a really incredible catering program at the restaurant, and I decided to take a 9 to 5. So in 2020, 3 months before the world shut down, I took a 9 to 5. Again, it was God because we had to close our restaurant in 2020. So I still had a
Mm.
job. And I was working with local businesses. I was director of operations, and I had these incredible mentors who I loved. And it felt for like the first time that I was doing something that people, I hate to say it, but I had approval. It was finally like, oh, my parents like, oh, she's using her college education. Oh, she has something that other people do. And at first, it was a culture shock when you work weekends and nights, going from that to early mornings and not working nights, completely different feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it. I was in charge of some of the biggest events in our area. I created some incredible things that even now are still going on. So, how incredible to spend 5 years doing something for the community.
Yeah.
And then I started feeling boxed in. And I think that's the simplest way of saying it. I miss the
You got the
freedom.
itch.
Or the ick.
Oh, yeah. There is
I
the
got
ick.
I got the ick a little bit. For 3 years, I
Mm-hmm.
was working with people who I just loved. And then a lot of that shifted. And then in that shift, whenever there's leadership change, there's just you're not, to quote Amaya Papaya, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And
Mm.
I started feeling like I was not everyone's cup of tea. And I could kind of feel the schisms. And it's no one's fault. It's not my fault. It's not their fault. It just
Mm-hmm.
happens in life. But I really started missing the idea and the feeling of running my own thing. I had been a photographer before then, and I had to kind of put that aside. Um, and I just kept coming home saying, I want to work for myself. I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I have to work for myself. And then in January, I lost my job. And 2 weeks before that, I had met Allison. And I think it, like, literally, when you look at like the butterfly effect, what a freaking blessing. And that's how I
Mm-hmm.
look at it all. So now I have my photography business. We actually just got really exciting news that a split space I just photographed for an interior designer has won a national level award. I work with Allison with helping women's businesses. And then I have like a little passion project for cooking and writing. So I feel like what I wanted might have taken a really long time to get there, but I feel like this is the beginning of like building my life my
I
way.
love it. I think the commonality here is that we were both done. We were done with conforming to the standards, whether that be, what our parents expected or the social norm, or there was pressure in how old we were and, what are we doing with our life? And I feel like we were both craving more freedom, more fulfillment, and that flexibility to be exactly who we wanted to be, not feel tied down while also being able to expand our reach. I think we truly realized that working harder for someone else just simply wasn't the answer.
No, definitely not. And there also comes a point where you start to see that no matter how hard you work or how many new ideas you bring to the table, A, not everything's going to stick, but B, it doesn't always get you where you think it's going to go. Like there was, for me at least, in every role I've had before now, there was no growth opportunity.
Right.
Either way, I'm okay if I don't grow this way, but as long as I grow this way.
Hmm.
But like I said, I was boxed, and that's a hard feeling to go to work with every day, knowing that like this is it, this is the end.
Yeah. And even now, as, business owners, we find ourselves in a situation where if something's not working, we have the autonomy to change that rather quickly. Whereas if we give our voice in a meeting at a 9 to 5, we're not always going to be heard. And we then have to watch it almost burn down, right? And see, like, you hate to say you told you so, but I told you so, right? And so I feel like now it's all about, leaning into your own intuition and understanding exactly what you're meant to do.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that is hard. And I think it's hard for anybody who's listening to this, right? Because again, I've always been so obedient to everybody. And now I just feel as if I've been through so much in my life on a personal level and on a professional level that
Hmm.
why am I going to listen to anyone else?
Hmm.
It just didn't work. And so why not do things that make me feel good and just trust myself to see it through?
And listen, at the end of the day, those people aren't paying your bills. Okay.
No.
And so that's really what it comes down to is if you asked my own mother if she understands what I do for a living, I don't even know if she could give you a for real answer. I love her dearly, but it's just a matter of this isn't the norm, right? So
Mhm.
it's like you go get a job, you have a nice salary, you get health insurance, and you contribute to a 401k, and you're doing
And
all
then you
of the
die.
things the right way, but it's not what we want. And, far be it for us to put ourselves in a situation where we're not happy, right? And it might not make sense to every generation or even people in our own generation. And listen, if you're totally happy in your 9 to 5 and you love clocking in and clocking out and getting the
I'm
job
so
done,
jealous of you.
right. Right.
I'm
I love
so
it. I
jealous of
love the
you.
predictability of a paycheck. I love the getting up and, leaving work at the door at 5 o'clock and coming home. That's not how my brain works. Okay. I associate my brain with the hamster on a hamster wheel, right? I'm constantly thinking of new ideas or questioning, if I made the right choice in a certain situation, right? But for me, I would rather those scenarios, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, than be trapped having to answer to somebody else. And that's really what it boiled down to for me.
No, I 100% agree. I was laughing because when you said the mom thing,
Hmm.
I was with my mom yesterday and I was showing her something on my computer and she was like, I've never seen this. And I'm like, how have you never seen this? Like,
We
I'm
love moms.
here. Like I share this on my Instagram, you follow that, you follow my Facebook page. Like what are you like I talk
Hmm.
about it. We go on hot girl walks and like I talk about these things that I'm doing. How have you never seen this? And it
I
just made
love
me
it.
laugh
I
because
love
here
it.
I was making all these decisions to like make my mom proud, make my dad proud, make my brother proud. Now
Yeah.
now I'm like I just want to make myself proud and I don't really care if you don't understand what I'm doing because I understand it. Even if I don't understand it, I do understand it. I have a vision,
This is the whole idea. And it's that creative freedom to be like, you know what? This might be insane, but I'm going to try it anyway. And we can because
literally.
we built this life in order for us to be able to do this. And like I said, I will never not say this life is not for everybody. And this is not a criticism on somebody taking a 9 to 5 and happy in that 9 to 5. But if you are in that cubicle, in those, in that office, and you have that time clock, time badge, and you're like, this feels like it's sucking my soul dry, trust your gut. Even if it doesn't make sense on paper, it literally speaks volumes for you to just reflect and look within and be like, I'm not happy. I want more for myself. I know that I'm capable, and I'm going to take a leap of faith, because that's what both Lan and I did. Some of us, both of us, to a certain extent, were kind of forced into it being laid off and fired, right? But we also, it came at the perfect time because we felt ready for more, ready for something different, and ready for change.
I don't know that I know I always wanted it. And I think what happened was sometimes you need that rug pulled out from under you to
Hmm.
go after it. And I'm, extraordinarily grateful. I'm in a marriage where like my husband's like, okay, go for it. And then every day when I'm like, I'm not doing enough, he's like, no, 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 you are doing enough. He's like, you're doing probably too much, but you're
Hmm.
happy and you're
Same.
doing it. And I think that's what matters, because I was actually thinking about this. It's like it makes sense in this context, but there's this younger generation that, so I'm 35, so there's this generation that's like 25 that's like right below us, and they just don't care what people think. I
Hmm.
follow a girl who works for Estee Lauder, started a cupcake company, and also does the marketing for like a vintage jewelry store.
I love it.
And she's having the time of her life. And I just think like she wasn't sitting there at 25 trying to explain to her parents, this is what I'm going
Hmm.
to do. She was like, no, I'm just going to do this. And I love that that generation is being taught that, whether it was at college or
Hmm.
through social media. Like, I don't know how she was taught that, but I wish at 25 I was like, no, I'm going to continue to write for high publishing articles, and I'm
Hmm.
going to continue to make ridiculous cash in a restaurant. And I'm just going to continue to be me, because guess what? 10 years later and some janky road, I'm right back where I was. I'm writing, I'm, making
Hmm.
money in different ways, and it's not defined, nor does it have to be. And
Hmm.
it's hard. And it's also hard because I don't know about you, but in my situation, I have an older brother who is just wildly successful and wildly type A. And he's incredible and an inspiration to me. But how hard is that to live up to? Like when
Hmm.
you're like the type B little kid taking
Yeah.
photos of like a leaf, and then he is like, I just sold this deal. It's impossible to live up to. And I think letting go of trying to has helped a lot too.
And it's interesting you mentioned the generation kind of like right below us, because there really is like this unhinged like essence around them where I almost am jealous. Like I'm like,
I am
I want to be
jealous.
like in the situation where I don't give a shit what anybody says about what I do, because I am at 30, how old am I? 36. I never remember. But I am, obviously we're in the same generation, and I am also in a situation where I feel like I'm living a similar like versatile income and doing what I love. But there is a pressure associated with it at my age where I'm like in the other generation of like, okay, like does like grow up, like does she know what she's doing for a living, like what the hell. And I, again, I'm the oldest, if and nobody guessed this, type A was the oldest, but I have a younger brother and sister who both have totally like normal traditional jobs. They clock in and clock out. They have bosses, they have salaries, they have benefits, right? But that's okay for them because it works for them. And they don't necessarily align with me taking the risks that I do. But I just look at it like, could I go get a 9 to 5 at any time? Yeah, I
Yeah.
could. But the financial freedom alone of being able to control how much money I make, and in some months how much money I don't make,
Hmm.
is scary, but also invigorating to just be in control of your own income and have the ability to just work as hard or as not hard in some days as you want. We're in the thick of the summer. I have a 6-year-old at home and I am working only a couple of days a week right now because I am spending so much time with her. Could you imagine if I was at a 9 to 5? They don't care that your daughter's out of school for the summer and you want to have more time with her. You're still logging in from 9 to 5.
There's also this, I think there's this misnomer that when you have a 9 to 5, like you're missing out on so much of your kid's life, but it's almost more expensive to have a 9 to 5 right now. I live in
Literally.
New York, you live in Pennsylvania, and I bet you feel it the same way.
Hmm.
We are currently childless. We have two dogs, and you'll definitely hear them at some point. But at the same time, when you look at life, how my old job was not conducive to the next steps in this. Long term, it would cost to have childcare. Who was going to watch our kid? And we're not there yet. But even with our dogs, there were days where I was like, who's going to walk them? Because I have to go
Hmm.
here, then here, then here. And that's not the life I ever wanted. I always wanted to be present, whether it's with my own family, whether it's on a day like today. After today, I'm going to go and walk my brother's dog for him.
Hmm.
That's a flexibility, and that in itself is abundance. And I think we miss that life is happening regardless of what we're doing, and it's up to us to be present for it.
Agreed. Absolutely. And I think we we're kind of both in different yet similarly strenuous situations when we decided to transition, and we still managed to come out on top because we honestly believed in ourselves and worked hard as hell, if I do say so myself. So I really think it boils down to the reason we're sharing this with you all today. It's not just for us to reflect, although that was so fun, but
Has been
because we know
cathartic.
so many women are sitting in that same tension. If you're listening to this in your car on your way to work or on a walk trying to figure out what's next, we genuinely want this podcast to be a space where your ambition is safe and your desire for something different isn't selfish. It's actually smart.
And I love that idea of ambition being safe because I think there's so many moments, specifically for women, when you say you have this big idea and someone immediately brings in logic, but it's
Yep,
really just them bringing you down. And I love that that's what we're going to create here is you can come here and know that it's not crazy that you want to create candles and sell them at farmers market. Do it,
absolutely
girl.
not. Literally,
Do it.
dive right in.
Next week, we're diving into how to transition out of your 9 to 5 and leave that structured, cold, cubicle life behind. We're here to show you how to build a business that actually supports your life, not the other way around. We didn't have it all figured out when we left corporate, and probably still don't always, but we
Mm-mm.
trusted ourselves enough to take the leap, and that's all you really need.
So if you're wondering if it's possible, we are here to tell you it absolutely is. We're going to walk you through it while you figure it out, friends. We will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.